Good morning, children. Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, dear.
Good
All
morning, ma'am.
classes going haphazard these days. So I thought again we have to go to take a offline class. That's why we'll go. Okay. Next period you'll have optional. Normally I have a last period for maths biology, but we have changed it for this reason only because I'll be missing out my class otherwise. Let me admit quickly. Okay, very quickly, we are left with three kingdoms now. We are left with fungi, plant, and animals. About ciliated protozoans, flagellated protozoans, sporozoan protozoans, we had already done. I need to start with this kingdom today, fungi. I have already done a bit with you. What was the proper name for this? You remember this?
Myocota. Myocota.
Mycota. See,
Myocota.
before I start, children, again the same thing. This is rote learning chapter. If at all there is something which is conceptual, I'll draw and explain it to you. But wherever it is rote learning, we have to learn. So this is Mycota, unique kingdom of heterotrophic organisms. Just remember, not autotrophic, they're heterotrophic. They have a great diversity. So many species are there. Now we had already done this term mycology. Branch of science which deals with the study of fungi are known as, what is it known as?
Mycology.
Yes.
Mycology.
And good. And the scientists who study mycology are called?
Mycologist.
Mycologist.
Good. This also we had done that the fungal body is made up of fine, transparent threads which are known as
Hyphae.
Hyphae.
many hyphae together, twined around one another. What do they form?
Mycelium.
Very good. We did the different types of hyphae. This also I had done with you, aseptate and septate hyphae. If the cells cross walls are present or they are not present. If the cross walls are not formed at the time of nuclear division, then it is which hyphae?
Aseptate.
Yes. And such an hyphae is also known as?
Xenocytic hyphae.
Yes. It is aseptate and multinucleate. But if we have cross walls after the nuclear division, and of course multinucleate again, then this is septate hyphae. We had done this, children. If you remember, let me show it to you. We were talking about fungal tissues. This is formed by interweaving of fungal hyphae. What was it known as? Plectin?
Plectin-chyma.
Plectin-chyma. Plectin-chyma was further divided into two categories. What was it? One was prosenchyma, and which was the second one?
Pseudoparenchyma.
Pseudoparenchyma.
Yes, pseudoparenchyma. You have nothing of all this in class 12. So this is the last year you're going to study this as of now. So prosenchyma, distinct hyphae running together parallel. Can you see this? Distinct. Separately, you can see both the hyphae. They're not mixed up with each other. They're distinct. That means they're different. Okay, this is prosenchyma. Look over here. Close packing. The hyphae have got fused. Such kind of a parenchyma is known as which parenchyma?
Pseudoparenchyma. Pseudoparenchyma.
Okay, so till here we had already done. Very good. Good morning. Till here we have already done. Now let's move on to the fungal cells. They are eukaryotic cells. Cell wall is present on the outside, and the cell wall is made up of two things, chitin and polysaccharides. Name the two substances which make the cell wall of a fungus.
Chitin and polysaccharides.
Very good. Since they are eukaryotic advanced cells a bit, they have all organelles except for one they do not have. Which one they do not have?
Plastids.
Plastids.
Very good. The plasmolemma, it has coiled membranous outgrowths, something which is protruding out. These outgrowths are known as?
Lomasomes.
They are called lomasomes. They just lie below the cell wall. And near the tip of the hyphae, cytoplasm has small vesicles which are known as?
Cytosomes.
Yes, we had done till here as well. These contain cell wall materials. Food reserve is in the form of two things. What are the two things in which food is reserved stored?
Glycogen and oil.
Very good. And during cell division, the nuclear envelope may not dissolve as in plants and animals. Let's move on to nutrition. They are heterotrophic. They absorb soluble organic matter from dead substances. That is why they are known as saprophytes. Mainly the mode of nutrition is saprophytic mode of nutrition, beta. And according to the mode of nutrition, we are going to classify them into two categories, parasites and saprotrophs. Most of them are this, saprotrophs. They take their food from non-living decaying matter. Okay, this is saprotrophic nutrition. However, we have another category of nutrition mode, that is parasites also, parasitism. These they live in association with another living organism and they get the food or essential nutrients. So can we have it very quickly? What are the two very common modes of nutrition in fungi?
Saprotrophs and parasites.
Saprophytic and parasite.
These are common words, common terms. You already know the meaning. Now let's move on to other modes of nutrition. This is not common, but sometimes it is present that some of them, they grow in symbiotic association with algae. If you see, this is a subcategory of symbiotic association. With whom are they growing with? They're growing in this. There's a difference between parasite and symbiotic association. All of you are aware of it? Everyone knows the difference between a parasite and a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So I need not
Yes,
discuss
ma'am.
it. They are mainly parasites or saprotrophs. They're not going to do anything, just extract their food from others. However, some of them are very decent. They do work. They live in symbiotic association with algae and then they form the lichens. Close association with the roots of higher plants and then they form mycorrhiza. So you should know about two combinations of fungi beta. One is lichens and the other is mycorrhiza. When we say lichens, that means fungi is growing in association with whom?
Algae.
Algae.
Very good. And if it is growing in close association with higher plant roots, then we call it as
Mycorrhiza.
Mycorrhiza.
mycorrhiza. So when we are discussing about nutrition in fungi, you will be talking about parasites, you'll be talking about saprotrophs, the most common modes. However, some of them are found in symbiotic association. So when you'll talk about symbiotic association, please discuss about lichens, where fungi will grow in association with whom?
Algae.
Very good. And if you talk about mycorrhiza, then it is a symbiotic association of which two categories?
With roots of higher plants.
Roots of higher plants and fungus. So these are the modes of nutrition that we have, beta. Let's move on to reproduction. Vegetative, asexual, sexual. All the three methods are adopted. It could be vegetative reproduction. That means any part of the somatic body. What do you mean by somatic body? What is somatic body?
Ma'am, fat.
Yes, dear, tell me what do you mean by somatic body?
The normal body except the sex cells.
Very good, very good. So normally the somatic organs are not supposed to be involved in reproduction, beta. But if the somatic parts are involved in reproduction, we call it as vegetative reproduction. So a part of this will separate and a new individual will be made. Fragmentation, you know, fission, you know, budding, you know, and you've got these sclerotia and by rhizomorphs. Have you heard about them? Okay, let me take it one by one. Everybody knows what is fragmentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One by one, very quickly,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
tell me about these three terms, fragmentation, fission, and budding. And I'll be discussing about sclerotia and rhizomorphs with you. Very quickly. Come on, let's not waste time. Who will tell me fragmentation?
Ma'am, it is a type of asexual reproduction.
Yes, but what happens in this, Peter?
Ma'am, splitting. Uh,
Fragmentation. Yes, what does the word fragmentation mean? What is the
Breaking
word
into
fragment?
fragments.
Yes, breaking into fragments. Perfectly correct. That means the body is breaking into small fragments or small pieces, and each piece is growing into a new individual. Then let's move on to the next one, fission. Quickly tell me what is fission.
Division of a cell
Okay,
into two
you
parts.
know about this. Huh, beta? Binary fission, multiple fission, you know about it. Budding also, I'm sure you know about it. You
Yes,
don't want to
ma'am.
speak
Ma'am,
probably. Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Let's
From
do this.
one,
Ma'am,
like
it splits into one or
mature cell,
more.
they divide. Yes, ma'am. From one mature cell, they divide into multiple cells.
Multiple cells and it's multiple fission. If it is two, then it's binary fission. Budding in, budding
Yes,
you've
ma'am.
already done. Budding in, you must have drawn diagrams also in 9th or
Budding
10th.
in hydra.
Yes, ma'am. Budding.
Okay.
Budding in
Yes,
One
form.
new organism developed from an outgrowth.
Good,
Ma'am,
good.
there is a outgrowth in a mature cell.
And then it separates out and a new individual grows from it. This is a new word probably for you, sclerotia. It's singular, it is called as sclerotium, right? This is mainly used for fungus only. What happens is there's whenever the conditions are not suitable, beta, there is a resting stage in the fungus. All the hyphal threads, they form a mass. Okay, they form a mass and they have a hard covering around them and they remain dormant for long periods. They do not become active, they do not reproduce. So what is it basically? You can think about it as a hard covering, and what is there inside the hard covering? Lot of hypha threads are there inside and they're in dormant stage. Whenever the conditions will be suitable, they may opt for vegetative or asexual, whatever reproduction later, but this is the dormant stage of fungi. Lot of hyphae threads inside surrounded by a thick membrane. This is what we call as a sclerotium. Remember that this term is typically used for fungi kingdom only. Okay. Tell me very quickly, what do you mean by dormant stage?
Resting phase.
Have you heard about dormant stage in any other plant or animal? Commonly in winters, we talk about it.
Ma'am, hibern.
Hibernation.
Ma'am,
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
You can call it
Yes, ma'am.
Snake.
hibernation.
Some animals rest during winter.
Yes, Beta. That is hibernation in animals. They go in dormant stage. Rate of respiration decreases. The amount of food needed is hardly anything. Now we move on to the next word, that is rhizomorphs. Okay. This is again a aggregation or a collection of hyphae and it looks like a root. What does it look like? It looks like a root. Here we do not have that membrane wala thing which I was telling you. Basically, there are a lot of hyphae together, parallel hyphaes set together with each other in a parallel manner. They basically act as absorption for nutrients. They are acting like roots. They are doing the function of roots only. So we call them as sometimes absorptive organs also. We sometimes also call them as cords, mycelium cords. You may come across these words somewhere, mycelium cords. You will not even see, if you see the picture, they will not even look like fungi. They look like long roots. Okay, they look very similar to the roots only, and the function is also like roots only. So we call them as rhizomorphs. It's basically a thread-like structure. You can remember this. And what is the condition of hyphae inside this? They're all arranged parallel to each other. Is it okay for these two words? So this is again, it is involved in absorbing nutrition. And later, after it crosses the dormancy stage, it will be fit for reproduction. So these two are a little different forms in active stages. Asexual reproduction, new individual is formed from a specialized part of the parent. Gamete formation does not occur. This occurs through spores or small single-celled or few-celled propagules. Is it okay? What are we going to call them? If it is, see, one is spore. I think you know about spores, children.
Yes, ma'am.
You know
yes.
about spores, no? So, what is a propagule? Propagule is a structure which can get separated from a plant and give rise to a new plant. Remember this word propagule wherever it is used. It is not specifically that we are talking about fungi only. It is any structure which can separate from the plant and grow into a new plant. This is what we call as a propagule. However, there is a difference of propagules in different families or different kingdoms. What are the propagules over here in fungus? What is the special thing about propagules here? Have you seen propagules anywhere in your daily life around you? Hmm? You seen ginger?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you take a part of a ginger, a piece of a ginger, and you can put it under the soil. You will see that it starts growing. So that is a propagule of ginger. Any part which can grow once separated from the parent plant can grow again and reproduce is what we call as a propagule. Special thing about fungi propagules are that they're either single celled or very few cells. They're not thick multicellular propagules. Either the propagule has only one cell or it has a few cells. Asexual reproduction, see, we have different spores, but we just name them differently. In Phycomycetes, zoospores. In Rhizopus and Mucor, it is sporangiophores. In Penicillium, it's conidia. In albigo and phytophora, it's conidiosporangia, chlamydomonas, rhizopus, and arthrospores in mucor and rhizopus. You need not learn the examples at all. Remember, they are all asexual modes of reproduction. You've got different organs where you have, which mode of reproduction are we discussing here?
Asexual reproduction.
Asexual.
Asexual reproduction. Basically, these spores are given different names, zoospores or sporangiophores or conidisporangia, depending on their shapes and structures. Let's move on to sexual reproduction. This is interesting here. All of them produce asexually except the artificial group, that is fungi imperfecti. This is considered to be the imperfect fungus. Why it is considered as imperfect fungus? Because it's a little different from the normal fungi beta. How is it different from the normal fungi? All the fungi normally they reproduce asexually, except for one group. They are Deuteromycetes. Which group reproduces sexually? You name it.
Deuteromyces.
Yes, children, come on, name the group of fungi which reproduces sexually, not asexually.
Deuteromycetes.
Deuteromycetes. This is also known as imperfecti. Imperfecti means it is not perfect. Why it is not perfect? Because it is different from the other. The sex organs they produce gametes, and these gametes are called as gametangia. Okay, what are the gametes called in sexual reproduction in Deuteromycetes?
Gametangia.
Yes, beta. Remember these two terms. Which category or which group of fungi is involved in sexual reproduction? Name it quickly. Deutero. Give me the name.
Deuteromycetes.
Deuteromycetes.
Very good. And these sex organs they produce gametes. What are the gametes known as?
Gametangia.
Gametangia.
Now, the sexual cycle involves three stages. Let me explain this to you, then you'll understand the above line. We have three stages in sexual cycle. First is plasmogamy. This is the first stage, beta. What happens in plasmogamy is that the cytoplasm of two sex cells they Prisha, where is that meeting? Yes, children. Sorry, principals are called up. Planning for your PTM. We're going to have your PTM most probably tomorrow. That is what sir said just now. So we'll be drafting a message and posting it. Offline PTM this time. Okay, children? No response coming. Am I audible?
Ma'am, but
Yes,
tomorrow is a
ma'am.
working day.
I don't know. Just now I got a call. Earlier it was planned 19th, but just now sir gave a call 1 minute back and he said let's plan a PTM tomorrow for class 11th and 9th. So 11th maybe you have a PTM. If at all it's a PTM, then it's going to be an offline PTM this time. So very soon you'll be getting a message on the groups. All your UT marks and everything would be discussed. How regular you are for classes. All the teachers are present on offline PTM days. And then one by one, principal sir meets all the parents. And all teachers are there to give your feedback. Whether you're regular, you're not regular, you're posting your notes or you're not posting. So we sit with all our homework done when the parent is about to come. This is how we have an offline PTM. So most of you, be prepared. Okay, we were discussing about the first stage beta, that is plasmogamy. Be very careful about this word. Come close but do not fuse. This is the main thing, the most important thing that you need to remember about the first stage, plasmogamy. What is happening in this? The two sex cells, they're coming close together, but they are not fusing with each other. Only the protoplasm is fusing together. What is protoplasm?
Ma'am, the combination of cytoplasm and the
Cytoplasm.
nucleoplasm.
Yes, good. So they come closer together and then the mixing of cytoplasm takes place. So once this fusion takes place of cytoplasm, nucleoplasm, the cell which was formed is a single cell and that single cell is called as dikaryon. Karyo means nucleus and di means two. So we'll have how many nucleus now? We're going to have two nucleus. One nucleus of one sex cell, the other nucleus of the other sex cell. After they combine, after the cytoplasms will combine beta, the protoplasms will fuse. What is the resulting cell called as?
Dikaryoization.
Dikaryon.
Dikaryon. Because it has how many nuclei?
2.
And this process or this phenomena is known as dikaryotization. What is it called?
Dikaryoization.
Dikaryoterization.
Very good. The karyo, that means the nucleus, has become di, it has become two. So what happened in the first stage in the plasmogamy? Two sex cells came close together, the cytoplasm has fused, the protoplasm has fused, and now your cell is a dikaryon, that means it has got two nuclei. Now we move on to the second stage, that is karyogamy. Both the nuclei, they fuse together. In the first stage, we had how many nuclei?
2.
Yes, two separate nuclei. Now both the nucleus are going to fuse together and you get a nucleus which is the diploid nucleus, and this nucleus is called synkaryon. What is it called, beta?
Synkaryon.
Synkaryon. But remember, synkaryon is a diploid nucleus. It has the entire material of both the nuclei. And the third stage is going to be the reduction division, that is meiosis, in which the diploid nucleus, which was formed in the second stage, will divide and we are going to get a haploid nucleus. So first we had the protoplasm combining together to form a binucleate cell, which is known as dikaryon. Then karyogamy takes place. Both the nuclei were earlier separate. Now the nuclei will fuse and you're going to get a diploid nucleus. What is a diploid nucleus called as?
Synkaryon.
The diploid nucleus. What is it called?
Synkaryon.
Synkaryon.
Called
Dikaryon.
synkaryon. Beta. And this synkaryon is haploid or diploid?
Diploid.
So you'll
Diploid.
have a very good. You'll have a reduction division and then a haploid nucleus will be formed. Let me hide this to you. Now let me discuss with you. We had 3 stages of sexual reproduction. And we also said there is a special category of fungi which is involved in sexual reproduction. What was that category or group called as?
Deuteromycetes.
Yes, very good.
Deuteromycetes.
They're also known as imperfect fungi. Why do you think they're called imperfect?
They are different from other fungi.
Exactly. They are different. For example, in school, everybody comes regularly to school. If one or two children do not come, we say they are different. They are not perfect in attendance. So anything which is different from the general lot is considered to be imperfect. So here we have 3 stages. Can we quickly name the first stage?
Plasmogamy.
Very good.
Plasmogamy.
Plasmogamy. In
Yes.
plasmogamy, what fuses?
Gammy.
Protoplasm.
Protoplasm.
And you get a cell in which you are going to have the mixing of the nucleus also, or only the protoplasm?
Only protoplasm.
Protoplasm.
So this structure will have how many nuclei?
2.
2.
You're going to have 2. What is the second stage?
Karyogamy.
Karyogamy. What does the word karyo mean?
Nucleus.
Good. So both the distinct nuclei now are going to fuse and you're going to get a single nucleus which is haploid or diploid.
Diploid.
And what is the third stage then?
Meiosis.
Yes. In meiosis, we have a reduction division where your diploid nucleus will again convert into haploid nucleus. Let's see this. There are various modes of sexual fusion in ferns. First is plasmogametic copulation. Fusion of the motile gametes takes place. See beta, motile, how are these gametes motile? They have flagella. So if the gametes are motile, and why are they motile? Because they have flagella. If their fusion takes place, then we call it as plasmogametic copulation. Plasmogametic copulation takes place in which kind of fungi? Which gametes? Tell me.
Motile gamete.
Motile gametes.
Flagellated.
Yes, the flagellated ones, that is the motile ones. They can easily float, so they come closer and copulation takes place. Such kind of a copulation which takes place between gametes which are motile, flagellated, this kind of a copulation is known as? Speak, Peter. It is known as which copulation?
Plasmogamic copulation.
Very good. Now we move on to the second one, gametangial contact. This is the second mode of fusion, gametangial contact. What happens in this? The two gametangia. I just discussed this word with you. What was gametangia? Quickly tell me. I just did it with you.
Sex organs of
The sex organs.
imperfect fungi.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody, what is gametangia? Sex organs which produce gametes, not the gametes, children. Don't get confused. Here it is gametes. Here it is gametangia. The gametangia are close to each other, but they will not fuse. The non-motile male gamete passes its nucleus into the female gamete through fertilization. The male gamete is non-motile. What will happen? There is a fertilization tube. So the non-motile male gamete will pass its nucleus into which gamete? Female gamete. That means the male gamete is going to enter the female gamete through a tube-like structure. What is the tube-like structure called as?
Fertilization tube.
Fertilization tube.
So here gametes are not coming closer. What are coming closer?
Gametangia.
Gametangia.
Very good. Be very careful the difference between the first and the second. The first is there we had both the gametes which were motile, that is flagellated. Second, we are talking about the non-motile gametes. In the first one, it was fusion of gametes directly. Here, the gametangia will come closer together. And then the male gamete will pass its nucleus into the female gamete through a tube which is known as fertilization tube. Third is gametangial copulation. See how they are different. Here, the gametangia do not fuse, they just come closer. But in gametangial copulation, the gametangia fuse and they form a zygospore. So got the difference between gametangial contact and gametangial copulation? The name itself is very clear to understand. Contact. They're not fusing, they're just coming closer. And gametangial copulation, both the gametangia are fusing. The fourth is spermatization. The fourth one is spermatization. Many minute, small, uninucleate spore-like bodies, which are called spermatia, are transferred to the hyphae cells. What is happening in spermatization? Spermatia are being transferred. Now, what are spermatia? There are many very small uninucleate spore-like bodies. What are these uninucleate spore-like bodies called?
Spermatia.
Spermatia. I know it is difficult to learn these terms. It's something new for you. But don't worry, this is the last kingdom. Plant and animal, of course, in details we've already done. So we'll not have to go into doing it classification wise. Let me do it very quickly. We are talking about fusion in ferns. What are we discussing? Fusion in ferns. How many kind of fusion we have discussed?
4.
4.
Very good. What happens in plasmagametic copulation?
Fusion of gametes.
Fusion of motile gametes.
Motile gametes. Please, very good. Specify that it is motile gametes is going to take place and there is going to be copulation. That means it is a fusion. Okay. Which was the second kind of fusion we discussed about?
Gametangial contact.
Very good. It is gametangial contact. In this gametangia, they fuse or they do not fuse?
Do not fuse.
They do not
Good.
fuse.
Do not
Very good.
fuse.
How is gametangial copulation different from gametangial contact?
In gametangial copulation,
In
two gametangia fuse to each other to form a zygospore, whereas in gametangial contact, two
Yes. They just come
they do not
gametangia
fuse.
Close to each other and
They
transfer
just come
gametes.
close to each other, but they do not fuse.
Okay. And what is the main difference between plasmagametic copulation and gametangial copulation?
in
You just yes.
plasmagametic copulation, there is a fusion of motile gametes, whereas in gametangial copulation, there's a fusion of gametangia.
Yes. Please remember the difference between gametes and gametangia. So this is the main difference that we have in this. Very good. And the last one is spermatization. Spermatize, something like sperms kind structures are there. Very small uninucleate spore-like bodies called spermatia. They are transferred to the receptive hyphae. So these are the various modes of fusion. Before I go ahead very quickly, let's not go into a lot of details here. We have done the fungal cells. We did about nutrition. Tell me very quickly, what are the three modes of nutrition we discussed? Parasitic, which was the second one?
Saprotrophs.
Saprophytic.
And we also had a symbiotic association. We named two of them. Which two?
Lichens.
Lichen and mycorrhiza.
Very good, very good. Lichens was an association between whom and whom?
Algae and fungi.
Which is the second association? Peter,
Fungi.
tell me which.
Fungi and the roots of high plants.
Continue, Vita. Tell me the next one. What was the mode of nutrition? We had three modes of nutrition. We've just done them. Then we moved on to the next topic. Let me very quickly revise before I go to classification. Other modes of nutrition is done. Reproduction. Three modes of reproduction. Vegetative, asexual, and sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is the most important. So let me revise that with you. In sexual reproduction, there's only one category of fungi which reproduces sexually. What is it?
Deuteromycetes.
Explain the first stage, somebody. Please explain the first stage, Peter.
Fusion of protoplasm.
Plasmogamy is the first stage of sexual reproduction.
Yes,
In
continue.
this, protoplasm of both the cells fuse together, which results in the formation of binucleate nucleus.
Very good. Second stage, please explain somebody. Yes, Peter.
Car-
Speak, Peter.
Karyogamy is the second stage in which a diploid nucleus is formed, which is known as synkaryon.
Very good. Now the next one quickly.
Ma'am, the last stage is meiosis, in which the diploid nucleus divides, resulting in the formation of a haploid nucleus.
Very good. So these were the three stages that we have. And this category is also known as imperfect fungi. Deuteromycetes, we call them as imperfect fungi. This was the main thing we had. Not this one. Very quickly. We have 4 modes of fusion in ferns. Which was the first one?
Plasmogametic copulation.
Plasmogametic copulation.
Plasmogametic
Okay.
copulation.
Fusion of which kind of gametes is taking place?
Motile gametes.
Motile.
Good.
Motile
Which
of
was the
flagellates.
second one? Which was the second one, Peter?
Gametangial contact.
Gametangial contact.
Tangential contact.
Fine. Here we have what coming closer together? Gametes?
Two gametangia.
Gametangia.
Gametangia. What is gametangia?
6 organs which
Sex
produce
organs
gametes.
which produces gametes.
Okay, fine. Which is the third one?
Gametangial copulation.
Gametangial copulation.
Good. What is the difference between gametangial copulation and gametangial contact?
In gametangial contact, fusion of two gametangia do not performed, and in gametangial copulation, gametangia fuse to form zygospore.
Good. And what is the difference between gametangial contact and gametangial copulation? It's so easy. Contact and copulation, there is no fusion. Here we have fusion. And the last one was spermatization, in which we had many uninucleate spore-like bodies which were formed. What was the name of those spore-like bodies?
Spermatia.
Spermatia.
Spermatia. Very good. So we'll be taking up classification of fungi. In case we have a PTM tomorrow, then your classes will remain suspended. So let me speak to sir. I just told him after class I'll call sir. So we have to do classification of fungi. That's left over here, beta. This is what we need to revise. And then we are left with 2 more kingdoms after fungi. Which 2 kingdoms?
Plantae and
Plantae
animalia.
animalia.
Plantae and animalia.
That we've already gone into details and we've done. How many of you have gone through the deleted syllabus? Did anybody check out about the deleted syllabus part? Oh, very good children you are. You don't go for checking the deleted syllabus, no? Sincere ones, just studying nicely. Okay. There was another term. Let me revise. I still have a minute or so. Gametangia, everybody knows now. There was another term which I need to discuss. See, let me see. Yes, this one. Near the hyphae tip, the cytoplasm contains small vesicles. What are these vesicles called as?
Cytosome.
Good. Cytosomes. The plasmalemma has coiled membranous outgrowths, which are called?
Lomasomes.
Lomasomes.
Good. Cell wall, if at all, if it is present, then it is made up of which 2 substances?
Chitin and
Polysaccharides
polysaccharides.
and chitin.
Chitin and polysaccharides.
Reserve food material in a fungal cell is called? Is what?
In the form of glycogen or oil.
Okay. If I talk about vegetative structures, then the root-like structures, hyphae arranged in root kind of shape. Okay. And then what are they called as?
Rhizomorphs.
Rhizomorphs.
Very good. And what did I tell you about sclerotia? Let me see sclerotium singular. If you remember, what was it?
It is a dormant stage of hyphae in which